Hello and welcome to today's webinar. We're talking about the latest trends in search and consumer behavior. I'm Erin Martin, the VP of Marketing here at Netsertive, and I'm excited to have our amazing Google partners, Aubey, back to host with me along with Jason Hill, and they have a ton of insights for us today. A few housekeeping items before we dig in. We are going to send out all of the materials tomorrow, so you'll get the deck and the recording and some summary notes. And then we don't have live questions today, but if you have anything that you'd like answered, feel free to pop them into the QA window throughout, and we'll be happy to follow up afterwards as well. And we're going to try to keep the webinar around 45 minutes so you guys have a little bathroom break before your next meeting. And one more item before we kick it off, just a quick note about Netsertive. We help franchise brands and multi-location businesses run localized digital marketing at scale. We have over 100 multi-location brand partners that we work with, and we absolutely love what we do. I say this all the time, but it's only because it's true. Because I get to spend my days marketing to a bunch of marketers about marketing, and it's freaking awesome. So if you ever want to geek out on digital marketing, definitely hit us up. We would love to connect. And today, just a quick agenda review. We're going to be hearing from Aubey and Jason on all the latest trends and best practices as it relates to search and consumer behavior. And then we're also going to touch on Google Analytics 4 a bit and what to be aware of as that transition becomes permanent in July. And then we're going to close out with a case study that's going to be able to show a really robust localized campaign in action that pulls together a lot of the pieces that we talk about today. So with that, Aubey, I'll kick it over to you to share some of the latest trends.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. Nice to see everyone today. I'm going to start off with a little bit more of a macro view on search. This is going to be, I know that we're really Google Ads focused, but I'm going to talk about the changes in the algorithm and what's happening in search on 2022 and how that affects us, because that's going to change a lot of strategy in the future. And as you are sure, I'm sure you see ChatGPT and all these different evolutions in search. There is so much coming down the pipeline that we need to make sure that we stay ahead of it, and we change our strategies as a result of that. So I'm going to highlight, and I recommend looking at the YouTube videos. There's 10 to 20 minute recaps of search on 2022. And it's actually talked about by our search product experts, the people that are actually developing search and changing the algorithm. So I highly recommend watching that, because I'm not going to do it justice today, but I'm going to go over some top line material for different aspects about it, and then how we can change our Google Ads strategy as a result of that. So the first update I want to talk about is multi-search UI updates. I'm sure you were able to see here in this little action picture we have here, but essentially it's a way for you to, on just normal search, switch between text and images and go back and forth between the two, or even use them both. For instance, in this example, it's a croissant muffin, and finding that nearby. But yeah, I've never even heard of a croissant muffin until I saw this animation. But if you want to, you can search that and use multi-search to find one near you right now if you need to. So the next highlight is just finding information faster. So a lot of, and you're going to hear me harp on this a lot, our search algorithm is continuously changing, and a lot of the latest updates, and I'll in just a few slides go over about why, like how much more we're understanding the human language. But as a result of that, we're getting a lot more predictive results, and you can find things faster. So in this example, searching Fort Funston, you can see it's not only just pre-populating text and saying, hey, I think you're looking for this, or it might be this. It's actually showcasing a picture and reviews of the place that you're trying to research. So as this progresses, I think this is going to change. It's going to be a lot more predictive. It'll save you time and help people search faster in general. Going deeper on a subject with ease, this is essentially going and diving into subcategories of a topic that you're researching. So in this example, Oaxaca, you can search the location, and then within that you can find the different subcategories and basically put on guardrails of what you're trying to find. So you can look at images, you can look at beaches, pronunciation. Admittedly, I had to look at how to pronounce it myself through Google. So that's a capability that's available. But these are different things that you can utilize. And you can see here how much more images are starting to be showcased in search. And that's going to be a common theme. If we move to the next slide, we're also talking about search or shopping and how much more visually rich it's going to be. And this, as I was saying, it's going to continuously become more like a part of search. And that's just the way that we're meeting consumer demand. Just the way that people are interacting with this, and search in general is helping us change the search product. And then as a result, that's going to be incorporated into a lot of our Google ad strategy and just your digital strategy in the future, even outside of Google. But if we go to the next slide, as I was just saying, we're changing the search algorithm based on consumer demands. And as a result, we will need to change Google Ads as well, because the user journeys are getting a lot more complex. So if you're going to be incorporating images and video and all these different aspects, especially with the measurement, the piece of measurement in the industry right now and losing a lot of visibility, you need to make sure that you're ever present in your digital strategy and making sure that you're marketing to potential customers at all times. So not just on search, but how am I going to reach someone that's looking at an image over here or on a YouTube video over here, and then making that kind of like a holistic strategy. We're going to give you some ideas on that today as we progress in this webinar. So as I said, here's that slide I was just referring to a few slides ago. Our language models have been developed a lot more. So even just over the last 5 years, we've started to understand language 5,000 times more than before. And what that does is it gives us 50% better understanding of the human language before. So that gives us the capability of changing our Google AI in search, as I was saying, like in predictive results in all these different measures. And even just finding intent, like, am I actually searching to buy a TV, or am I doing, am I researching a TV, or am I just saying, oh, I saw this TV, let me just see what it is? Like giving the actual understanding the human language, and then, only showing up in ads when there's actual intent is kind of the name of the game. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So this is, I think, the money slide for the entire webinar. If there's 3 things that you can do, then definitely take this away. And this is kind of the strategies that we have and recommend as the best practices with the changes that are happening in search right now. So this is all future focused. This is our gold standard right now. And I'm going to dive into each one of these individually over the next few slides. But the first one is optimizing for ROI. So there are ways to help optimize towards your actual business outcomes rather than just Google conversions or CPCs or anything like that. We have a way to optimize towards your business actions. Second is uncovering new opportunities. So broad match keywords. I know that a lot of people were scared about it a few years ago. We'll talk about why it's beneficial now and why we consider it a best practice. And then finally, creating an intuitive experience. So having visually rich images and incorporating that into your Google Ads strategy. So the first, value-based bidding. This is very important because, as I said, you can actually pump in your data from your business practice and bid towards actual business outcomes. So essentially, if you try to, I don't know how in depth everyone goes into Google Ads, you can actually pump in, let's say your revenue metrics from selling certain products, or say you start to see, $500 worth of revenue from sales qualified leads. If you're, say, in lead generation, you can pump in these values and actually bid towards having a profitability margin within Google Ads. So it's no longer going to be, hey, I want to get $50 per lead or $50 per purchase. It's going to say, hey, I want to invest $1 and I want to get $3 back in return through Google Ads. Like that's a current capability. and something that we definitely recommend for businesses to use. And if we go to the next slide, the data shows that advertisers that use this function and this smart bidding algorithm tend to see 14% more of an increase in conversion values as a result. So I know that sounds kind of Google Adsy, but what that means is if you're actually putting in real data and real revenue, you're going to see a 14%, potentially a 14% increase in your revenue. So not only will it drive more revenue, but you'll also be hitting it at a profitability margin of whatever, I guess, bottom that you put. So if say you put a 300% return on investment, that's going to basically kick out a three to one, $3 in revenue to your $1 of investment in Google Ads. And the way that this works, and this kind of goes back, obviously CPCs are kind of, or manual bidding is kind of, extinct at this point. Old smart bidding, if say you're just bidding towards general conversions, in that instance, you're basically putting the same amount of value for each conversion action. So let's just say you are a lawn care company and you sell, lawn mowers, and you also sell hedge clippers. In that situation, a conversion action, a good conversion, is essentially selling anything. So you could sell the hedge clippers or the lawnmower, but in the algorithm's mind, both are equally just as valuable, bid to whoever to get that conversion. In reality, we all know that you can make, let's just say $1,000 more selling the lawnmower versus, the $20 you probably get from the hedge clippers. So what you can do in value-based bidding is take in that revenue metrics, put it in there, and let the algorithm essentially say, hey, we're going to bid way more aggressively on the lawnmower because we know we're going to get so much more revenue from that for the advertiser. So that's kind of how it works. The higher quality the inputs, the better, I guess, results you'll see for your business. So very important. But we'll move on to the second portion, which is broad match keywords. As I was saying, I know a lot of people were scared about this a few years ago. There's been a lot of advancements. So as with any Google product, we like to fine tune it and optimize it as we get more feedback. But essentially, the way that this works, it really should be used hand in hand with, as I was saying, value-based bidding or smart bidding as a whole. And the reason for that is it casts a wider net. So it uses a lot more signals than phrase and exact match. So you can see here, landing pages, other keywords in the ad group, previous searches, user location. All of these signals are not being used in exact and phrase match. And not that I have any insider information I can I can tell, but I would assume as a betting man that exact and phrase match will eventually go the way of the dodo, and we will continue to stick with broad match as the future. So I would definitely recommend getting used to it now. But if you go to the next slide, you can see hand in hand why it works so well with value-based bidding and a lot of our smart bidding products. So it does get a broader reach. And as I said, the language models and everything and the intent that we're able to use with the different signals, that gives it more of a reach and tries to, be prevalent in queries where it might not, used to have done, or if you think that, it falls under the umbrella, if it doesn't, the algorithm doesn't think that there's a high intent, it won't show up. But the reason why it works so well with smart bidding is because if you set that baseline profitability metric and you say, hey, I want $3 to my $3 revenue to my $1 in Google Ads, even if you don't think that some of those are quality, it will make sure it maintains that profitability metric. So you don't need to worry about, hey, am I, showing up in, some bad queries? Maybe so, but the algorithm's going to make sure that you show up in so much more that you're going to benefit from it and still maintain the profitability for you as a business. So you can kind of see here the wider of a net that it casts versus just having phrase match. But yeah, using these two in tandem is our gold standard best practice right now. So yeah, a lot of these image assets, Aaron, we can just populate all of these. It's as I was saying, images are going to become such a big portion of search in the future, and that's kind of the evolution of search. What's fun about this slide is that you can see, what it was like in the past, even just a couple of years ago, how text heavy it was over here on the left, and then right now where it is. We've had a lot of betas that recently launched to general public to incorporate images within their search. Also having their brand logos populating alongside of, say, you search a business company. And in the future, this is kind of where we're seeing search going. It's becoming a lot more visual. So on top of all the AI and broad match and bidding and all that, a lot of the, if a lot of your time is no longer going to be going in the nitty gritty, optimizing for certain keywords, optimizing for all these things, this is, I think, where you can actually devote a lot of your time. Is creating these visually rich, stimulating images where you might be able to attract someone to buy that new dress, or showcase food that looks very appetizing. So there's a lot that can be done with it, especially with how much it's going to be prevalent in the future. So as I said, there are a lot of products that are coming out. Browsable search results, the images there, that's becoming a lot more prevalent. We have the new search ads UI. So as I said in the previous slide, definitely start to incorporate a lot more images in your search strategy. And then something that wasn't really touched on, but I think is very important, is conversational search results. So being present at all times for potential customers. For instance, here you can see, chat with a virtual agent. It's a lot better for you as a company to have that almost human element where you can interact with someone. Say you have a quick question, you can immediately just click through, make it seamless right there through Google search, and just get in touch with someone at the business and maybe have like a quick text message back and forth. So very important. And with all of that, I know that was very macro level and kind of future focused, and there's a lot to take in there. All of that can and should be used on the local side. So I know a lot of people that are tuning in for this, local businesses, all of these strategies and I guess Google Ads theories should be applied at the local level. And the stat that I want you to take home is that 90% of shoppers globally who visited a store in the last week said that they searched it beforehand and did research. And so, as I said, like, you want to make sure that you're present throughout the entire journey of a prospective customer, making sure that you're present. You have images, you have the capability of interacting with them. You're showing up on search, you're showing up on display, video, and all these different things, because it's getting a lot more complex. But you also want to make sure that you do that at the local level, because that's honestly where you're going to find probably your highest value customers. So this is a fun little slide. It's a lot of information now that I'm thinking about it, but there's a nice little timeline. I'm just going to bring your focus to kind of today's day. So in the age of machine learning, you can see all the stuff that you've done. If you've worked in Google Ads in the past, a lot of those past strategies are kind of defunct now. But we have the age of machine learning. Obviously, we have smart bidding. I talked a little bit about where we were with conversion bidding, and now having conversion values, smart display, smart shopping, and being present at the at every stage of the customer journey. And I mean, it's very hard in this day and age, especially with lack of visibility in measurement, to say, hey, I want to dictate $1,000 to YouTube, $1,000 to search, and $1,000 to display, because it's very hard to track the measurement between the two. We know there's a lot of correlation between all these different mediums, but there isn't necessarily a way to track it all. And that's, I think, the biggest issue. So it's hard to say, hey, I want to throw 1,000 in YouTube, but then run out of YouTube money, even though it's doing really well for your search campaigns. But you can't make that decision because you don't know that measurement and attribution on the back end. We'll talk about how we can mitigate that on Google Analytics 4 later on. But what that does is it made us internally create a new ad product where you can essentially be present at all stages of the the marketing funnel, and more of a holistic approach. And I'm going to pass it over to Jason, who will talk about Performance Max.
That's a crazy, crazy number to think about real quick. 1998, Google was born. I just feel I feel really old right now, but cruising over to the Performance Max stage. What's up, you guys? I'm Jason. We're halfway through. We're almost there. So if I put anyone to sleep, let's go ahead and do a little quick stretch. Let's wake up a little bit. I'm here to geek out a little bit on something called Performance Max. And before we go to the next slide, I want to throw a couple numbers out there. So it's really crazy to think about. And what Aubey was talking about is to be path to purchase aware, right? And how many touch points? If you think of it, let's think of the funnel, right? So when I say touch points, like from awareness, they're thinking about it, consideration, okay, I'm getting more serious, to actually converting and clicking buy. There's 500 touch points. Let that sink in, 500. So what the struggle became was when businesses are, okay, so like Aubey said, what platforms do I go on? How much do I allocate to it? And how do I know it's converting? How is it path to purchase aware? So more Performance Max. Let's go ahead and dive into what Performance Max is and what it does. So here you can see exactly how Performance Max is unique compared to existing channel-based campaigns. So what's exciting is during early stages of beta testing, we recommend you guys running PMax along existing campaigns. So you can see the unique value prop of both. Biggie is because Performance Max is goals based, like you're setting the actual goals, unlocks maximum performance in 3 particular ways. So number 1, aligning marketing objective goals, your path to purchase awareness with data-driven attribution, and served across all inventory. So I'll show you guys in a little bit, but when I say across all inventory, it literally runs across YouTube, search, Gmail. I'm completely guilty with it. I just bought a Harley. Don't make fun of me, midlife crisis. But I'm searching parts everywhere, right? So as I'm getting blasted on YouTube with those parts I was searching, and I go over to search, those same parts are carrying on over, so it's constantly in my face. I'm always being aware of it. Next slide. Quick little mic drop. So 13% additional conversions. That's a big number. So Performance Max campaigns drives 13% additional conversions at a lower cost per conversion. So not only more, you got to think about it at a lower conversion price as well. So little mic drop right there. So moving over to the value Performance Max, so performance improvement. So obviously getting you more conversions, maximizing reach. So it's going to be serving across all Google inventory. So the cool part is you literally click a button. It's like a Tesla baby. It runs itself, right? So it will go between YouTube, it will go between Google search, whatever the best conversion is, or where your audience is segmented, it's going to go by itself. Time saving for leads for more growth, more practitioners to focus on higher value optimizations. Let the people pushing the buttons and pulling the levers go focus on other things while Performance Max does the rest. Competitive advantages. So advantage by being an early adopter, learning new cross-channel experiences. What we mean by that is it's still a baby, it's just right out beta, but we're seeing huge improvement. And as we receive feedback from you guys as well, we're always making it better. Incremental test budgets provides an opportunity to test pooled budgets across a team collaboration, joint media plans, and also just growing on agencies. So take on more clients, take on more revenue streams, simplified account management and execution. Exciting stuff. I'm super visual. Here is a picture of really where it's going across. So it took over smart shopping. So it's now smart shopping, Gmail, search, YouTube, discover, display, and maps. So again, it knows where to be at the right time, whenever that your audience signal segmented ideal client, whoa, that's a lot of words, it will pop up right in front of you. So as noted before, it's going to be serving across all channels. So it's a one-stop solution. And it's a quick tip to use as many assets as possible. As Aubey was saying, it's no news to anyone. We're going towards assets. So no one wants to see a bunch of words anymore. Make sure we have high, rich quality images and video. Google will love you. Client will love you. We'll convert. Next slide. This is what I was just talking about, so it's really exciting. Audience signals is a new feature that is adopted to Performance Max only. So this is also straight out beta. It gives practitioners the opportunity to assist in steering and influencing automation to closer to the consumer segments that will align with the actual campaign marketing objectives. A quick call out here is adding audience signals is optional, but it allows Performance Max to align with important signals to optimize with machine learning, so it knows where to go as it learns. So today, test Performance Max in your campaigns to drive improved performance, then upgrade as you see results. The best practice for this, for Performance Max campaigns, is to run it alongside Google Ads campaigns to drive more conversions. The ultimate rule here is this freaked a lot of people out. I got it, is it going to consume and cannibalize my other campaigns? At the end of the day, in Google Ads, the stronger campaigns are always going to serve, right? So there might be overlap, but at the end of the day, the stronger ad will always serve. So be confident when launching this in your beta tests, that it's not going to cannibalize its partners. It's going to go ahead and run alongside of it. Google calls for a month. I like 6 weeks better, just the experience of doing it. Allow testing for 4 to 6 weeks ideally, and that's where you're going to see optimal results. Alrighty, so kind of tuning in from a little bit earlier, first time setting up Performance Max, you want to fine tune your current campaigns. These are fundamental practices. So when setting up your campaigns, you have limited conversion volumes, set an artificially low ROAS target or CPA target, but depending on your bids. Conversion volume is key here. Super important. Performance Max is hungry. The more data you have, the better it's going to perform. Simple as that. So don't spread yourself too thin when starting. Concentrate on driving high conversion volume for your first campaign. If you're a retail advisor, make sure your data quality in the merchant center meets the other standard quality of the rest of the GA. Poor data is really going to hinder it. A couple more, make sure your conversion tracking firing is firing properly to get you extra kudos if you have dynamic conversion values being passed back. And then final recommendation is to make sure your website is loading fast. You can always use the Think with Google tool to check your speeds and make sure it's optimal and firing on all 8 cylinders. As I mentioned before, I wanted to introduce this new product to discuss its importance because it's a newer campaign type that should be complementary to everything else you're doing as now as a best practice. So whether you're driving online sales or driving more leads, this can actually do it all. And when you hit on the generation theme of automation, the product could be the future of where Google's headed. Data-driven attribution, automation, and self-optimization is where we're heading to make your guys' life easier, to make campaigns smarter. There's, at the end of the day, there's no humanly way possible on God's beautiful green earth that we can make the same decisions that these smart machines can as they're taking path to purchase awareness into play. But I really appreciate you guys having me. I'm going to toss it back to Mr. Aubey with the healthy hair to go ahead and close us out with some exciting stuff called Google Analytics 4. But you got it from here, buddy.
Thanks, Jason. Welcome to the sexy part of the presentation, Google Analytics 4. Very exciting. It's maybe not the most exciting, but it is probably one of the most important topics that we need to discuss. And just giving you a rewind on where we are in the privacy and measurement landscape. And you heard me a while back talking about having different silos and not being able to see attribution across the full funnel and the consumer journey. A lot of that is because of privacy and privacy expectation changes in recent times. So I'm sure if you Google search digital marketing right now, one of the top 2 news articles will be centered around user privacy and data regulations. And that's why this is so important right now. And Google Analytics 4 was built for that reason. We have as you can see here, platform changes, browser restrictions, cookies are going away, including on Chrome. A lot of browsers have actually already deprecated cookies. We have mobile operating system capabilities that were, changed recently. So like for instance, Apple iPhones, app tracking transparency, that changed, the industry as a whole. Regulations within the government. So obviously like Europe has their own set of regulations. The US, we have our own regulations starting to roll out. I know California has their own. 2 more states joined and created their own version of that this year as well. So with all of that and tracking and everything, it's becoming so much harder. And that's why we're always saying getting that first party data and collecting that across all the, your web, your apps, all that stuff. And collecting that data for your clients will help you in your actual marketing strategy. So it's, not the most exciting thing, but it is integral for your future and for your digital marketing strategy and incorporating that first party data. And Google Analytics 4 actually has a lot of the solutions that you probably need as kind of a one-stop shop. And it's future focused where the machine learning and Google AI built within it will continue to change as we go because of the modeling that's built inside of it. So if we go to the next slide, this is a really important slide. I just wanted to show the importance of it from a competitive standpoint, that if you incorporate your first party data into your strategy, a study found that companies that link all of their first party data sources generate double the incremental revenue from a single ad placement and see 1.5 times the cost efficiencies. So if you need dollars to kind of throw it out there and make you change and do something for this is kind of the slide that you need to see that, hey, if we undergo this project, this is going to eventually net out positive gains for us. And then another eye-popping stat is that only 43%, so less than half of firms, have a view of their data across web and app. So even though it will net you more money, as shown in the previous slide, think about that the majority of your competitors aren't even utilizing this capability. So if you want to look at it from a competitive standpoint, getting on as soon as possible and utilizing some of these insights and strategies from your Google Analytics 4 will help you have a competitive edge against everyone else in your industry, or for the majority of your industry. So what does Google Analytics 4 have in terms of solutions that we've been talking about? So it has the capability to collect and measure across the entire web and app. Has a lot of built-in algorithms where it can track things even through like a cookieless browser. We can not necessarily unique identifiers to because we have to make sure that it's built in a privacy safe manner. But we do have modeling built in to make sure that we're collecting data and we can find out where are your most high value customers, and also deduping a lot of these customers as well, because we don't want to have duplicative data and give bad data quality to misinform your marketing decisions. What this also does, what this also does is it gives you the ability to analyze insights. So as I said, Google AI is built into it. And I think something that would destroy me as a person is if I had to look through a bunch of raw data and find trends. It's not my cup of tea. But luckily, Google Analytics 4 has a capability to provide those insights for you in an automated fashion. And that's a little eye-popping stat there on the bottom is that 56% of marketers believe that analytics tools don't surface insights easily. So if you think that it's very cumbersome of a task where you don't have a person that's built specifically to provide those insights for you, don't worry, it's already built into the tool. Google AI will do that for you. And then it's also just a great way to integrate your data. It's like a one central platform where you can house all of your data, and then you can kind of also activate on insights, use that data and all those different insights and seamlessly use it across all of the different platforms that you're advertising on. So from a selfish standpoint, you can integrate with Google Ads very easily. But if we're looking at it just in general in your digital marketing strategy, you can get a lot of insights that you can apply to various other platforms that you're also using in your strategies. And then what I was saying before, way back in the first portion, everything was done in silos in terms of measurement. And we do have some hard data that dictates, if you are searching something, a lot of people go to YouTube, and vice versa. If you go to YouTube, you go to search to learn more about something. And it was very hard. It still is very hard to showcase the correlation between the two, because attribution is very hard. What's beautiful about Google Analytics 4, and this is like honestly amazing for me, because I've dealt with a lot of advertisers that are like, hey, I know YouTube's working for me, I just can't show it in a report. And I need to know, I need to understand how it's helping. But whenever they turn YouTube down, their search also suffers, and they're like, I don't have that hard data. We now have the capability to track that. In the past, you had to have a Google Ads conversion tracking pixel. Now you don't need to do that, because if, say, you were using Universal Analytics or some other method, the only way that you could get that conversion and track that through the journey is if someone actually clicked on a YouTube ad. I'm guilty of not actually clicking on YouTube ads, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well. But that doesn't, it doesn't dilute the fact that YouTube helps me make decisions when I'm, trying to buy something or doing, research something. So what we can do now with Google Analytics 4 is we can track, we call them engaged conversions, where someone watches an ad on YouTube for 10 or more seconds, and then within 3 days, they go to purchase, or they go to submit their information on your website. That can be tracked now as an engaged conversion. So you can actually show the correlation between watching something and then submitting and doing a conversion in another area versus someone just only clicking through a YouTube ad, which, realistically is very, not very rare, but it's not as common as you would believe. So why upgrade to Google Analytics 4 now? It is the future of analytics. I know we've talked about, why it's so important with a cookieless future and the different privacy regulations that are coming up. We did build this measurement tool with the intent of adhering to privacy laws and making sure that we're doing it in the right way. So very, very happy about that. There's a lot of new innovations as it's a brand new tool and platform. We still haven't had all the innovations rolled out yet. So obviously you can utilize a lot of the capabilities now, but we're also going to have a lot more innovations coming out in the near future that are going to be rolled out over the next 6 months to 2 years. So stay tuned for that. As I said, it gives you cookieless insights as we progress closer and closer towards the full deprecation of cookies. You're going to have less and less data. So it's better to get those insights now while you still have the ability to track cookies, and get more information now to learn, what is a good customer for my business, whether you're selling a product, whether you're trying to market towards people that need, I don't know, a plumber or something. Find out those insights, get them now, sooner the better, because if we're talking about just time sensitivity, Universal Analytics is deprecating, and I know Aaron touched on this earlier, is getting deprecated in Q3 this year. So the crux of it all is that Universal Analytics and Google Analytics 4 are not backwards compatible. So all your data in Universal Analytics cannot be transitioned over to Google Analytics 4. So the sooner you get onto Google Analytics 4, the sooner you can collect data, the sooner you'll be able to act on it and have that information. But the worst case scenario is if you don't act now, you wait till Q3 and Universal Analytics is deprecated, and then you get on Google Analytics 4, and then you're using Google Analytics 4, and you don't have the sufficient data to make informed decisions. So you don't want to get in that situation. Get on it now. It's free. You're able to do it. It takes, honestly, 10 minutes to set up. And it should be, honestly, one of the things that you take care of immediately. But that's my spiel for today. I'll pass it over to Aaron to take you through a case study.
Yeah, thanks, Aubey. And I think that time component of it is so critical, because since like you said, we're collecting and analyzing data in a completely different way. You want to run those two properties and instances parallel so you can understand the apples to oranges situation that's happening with those two. So definitely, I would want 6 months at least of that data to compare. So if you haven't done it already, definitely get on it. Awesome. All right. So just to close us out, I do have a case study that I'm going to share in a second to kind of pull all of this back together. But before that, I just wanted to note real quick that I think one of the big takeaways for me with a lot of the search trends that you shared, Aubey, is that while the way people search and discover information and the way that we track digital journeys and analyze information is always going to change, like it's always going to evolve. But there's always going to be a huge local intent or local component to it. Because for me as a consumer, when I'm looking for information, I'm looking for a mattress nearby, or I'm looking for window washing in Denver. Like I'm looking for something in my backyard. So as brand marketers, we need to ensure that the entire customer journey is hyper local and hyper relevant, with that rich content and personalization to meet those local search needs, however someone's looking for information. So to distill everything down, I want to look at an example of what building a great local experience looks like online. And so in this case study, this is a localized digital marketing campaign that we ran for a multi-location brand who had 5 different brands across their 32 locations and a catalog of hundreds of products that they were trying to sell. So this graphic is trying to show that magnitude of the hyper-localization and personalization that we are trying to do. And it's inclusive of search and Performance Max, but takes into other channels as well to be a fully integrated campaign. And a quick note, at Netsertive, we have been running Performance Max over the past 6 months as well to integrate into our own in-house technology. And we have also seen the average cost per conversion improve. So that has been helpful to fold in. So when we launched this campaign, we started out by really focusing on the high intent and high demand channels that were inclusive of search and display and website retargeting. And so we knew that we needed to personalize hundreds of variables to be able to make each of these individuals' digital experience really hyper-local and hyper-relevant. So our platform automated that localization of all the variables at scale. So hyper-localized the creative, to Aubey's point of having really rich, impactful creative. It's not enough to just do it at the national level and have great pictures, but having something that's customized to the location. Because if I'm a consumer in Denver, I guarantee you that winter and different needs that I have are different than someone in Florida. So being able to show that visually is huge. Customizing the account setup, the broad match, keyword strategy and list, negative keyword list, the media budget. And that just ensured that each local consumer was getting the most relevant experience to move the needle for them. And then it also ensured that the local domain authority and the structure was in place for Google or any other search engines to rank results higher, since algorithms have also evolved to prioritize for this local intent. And so within a few months, we started to see some really strong return on ad spend. So we expanded and layered in some additional channels, including YouTube, as Aubey was talking about, and social, with, again, that same hyper-localized approach. And even the YouTube campaigns used a corporate video, but with a localized overlay to show the closest location's address and phone number and URL, so that it had that brand compliant video, but still with a local call to action. And then most recently, as I mentioned, we folded in Performance Max as well, which extended our reach into even more placements. So as you can see here, the idea is just that everything is built around ensuring that that exact right digital experience is served to that person's unique local search and specific intent. And here's a quick snapshot of what I mean by that level of hyper-localization. So for this brand, we executed a centralized campaign where we then dynamically created 117 localized campaigns across those 32 locations with 344 different ad groups, over 4,000 headlines and descriptions, 815 different localized ad creatives, like I was just talking about, and 500 monthly ad changes and thousands of campaign optimizations. So that's really what's needed to win at the local level online. And again, it's that automation. I think that Jason and Aubey's also been touching on. The future is that it's not humanly possible. You need automation and technology to be able to make this level of sophistication happen. And so for this brand, we've driven some incredible results, helped them beat their cost per store visit goal. They're seeing an awesome return on ad spend. And we've also helped drive some online sales as well. And then on the flip side, on the analytics side, just as cool as the results that we drove is the location level insights that the corporate marketing team could also see on their end. And so what you're looking at is our customer portal that pulls in all of your campaign data. So for this customer, it's pulling in and normalizing data across Google, across Meta, Microsoft. So pulling in everything that we talked about from Google Analytics 4 or Universal Analytics into one snapshot. And this is just one of the views that we have that plots each location's return on ad spend on a quad chart. And so the x-axis is ROAS and y is the ad spend. And that allows both our teams to be able to see those high and low performing locations. So their team loves it because they have more data to be able to have conversations with locations on strategy. They're also able to see that there's a high correlation between higher ad spend and better return on investment, which then does eventually peter out. So you're able to see where that point of diminishing returns is and identify when investment is no longer worth it. And then you can also roll over each location and check out the media mix of those high performers. So you can see what's working and apply it to others as well. So what's awesome about this view is anyone can take advantage of it because it's based on average lead to close percentages and average sale value that you just input as your own assumptions that you can see here on the left. So there's no need for CRM or POS integrations. You can just basically model it out with the information you have, which is pretty cool. And that concludes our webinar for today. So thank you, Aubey and Jason, for your guys' insights today. It was so awesome to have you guys on again. And like I said, we're a bunch of marketing geeks over here. So if you ever want to talk localized digital marketing, hit us up and we'll have all of the recap and materials into your guys' inbox for you to check out tomorrow. So have a great rest of the day and thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for having